Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to make a simple counter app. Here's what we have. We have a simple counter app. You click count and it increases your count. Pretty simple, straightforward, but there's a few more bells and whistles. You can click the change count and enter whatever value you'd like and click OK and it'll change to that value. Also, you can close the app fully, even restart your phone, reopen the app, and the value is saved using shared preferences. So now I'm going to show you how to do this. Well, we're going to need some code. So first of all, we're going to make an activity. So I'm going to right click on Java, or you can go File, New, whatever you want to do. Somehow just make a new activity. So I'll go all the way down here to Activity. Not Basic Activity, that's a little more complex. Just Empty. Get that. And I'm going to rename the class or the activity name to Counter and make sure everything else looks okay. It does. Click Finish. Now we have loaded up our simple counter class right here. It's under Java in your package name. So let's check it out. First of all, we have the package name, and that's pretty simple. It's just the package name. Then we have our import, which is two different imports. We have our bundle and our support library. Not really a big deal, you just gotta have them. We also have our class, it's counter, and it extends our app compat activity. And we have our first method. That method is onCreate. Definitely need this. And in this method, we have the setContent view, which sets the view of our class here to activity counter, which is this UI. But we better get into starting to type some of the code here. So now we need to make a few methods. First of all, I'm going to start off with a method define values. I like to use it because I can condense all my value definitions into one method so it's easy to find. So let's start off with private. Actually, let's go public. Public void define values. And first, we're going to need some variables. We haven't really made them yet, but we will do that in a second. First, we're going to need count value display equals text view. I'll go over what all this means in a second. Find view by ID r.id.count value display. There we go. So what this is doing right here is it's taking a text view object, which is recognized by Java, and it's making sure that our app knows that the actual button in our XML is lined up with that object. That probably doesn't make any sense, but I'll keep going through it. Well, it's not fully done because we have an error. We need to go above our onCreate method, but below the class, and add text view count value display, just like that. There we go. Now we have our first definition. But, obviously we're going to need more than that. So next, we're going to have an increment button. Type increment, no space, capital B button, equals button, find view by ID, r.id.increment button. I probably didn't allude to this yet, but the count value display is the number right here. So we have 550, that's our count value. And we also have the increment button, and that is the button that says count. Also, we need to add a button up here, just below where we started the text view. Let's say increment button, just like that. Okay, next, we need shared preferences. So just type out shared, capital, no space, shared preferences, capital P. Then we're going to set the equal to get shared preferences count. Yeah, we'll go lowercase count for now. And then after the quotation mark, we'll do a comma in context dot mode private. Just like that. There we go. However, we are going to need to add the shared preferences to the top up here. So let's go shared preferences, space, shared preferences. There we go. Next, we're going to need the editor. So actually, we're gonna do the definitions up here first. We're gonna go shared preferences dot editor, capital E, lowercase editor, bam. Then we're going to do alert dialog. I'm doing these now because it's just too confusing to go back and forth. Alert dialog dot builder, capital B builder, space lowercase builder. Then we're going to do edit text, no space, new, capital new, no space, capital value. And we're going to do edit text, space, change, no space amount with capital amount, and input, bam. And lastly, we just got two more here. We're going to do linear, layout, no space, but both capitals. Hopefully I'm making these initializations correctly. Otherwise, we're going to have a lot of fun down the road. Okay, so now we're done with that. This is what it should look like. Yes, they will be underlined for now. We haven't even instantiated them yet, but we're going to do that in a second. So let's go back down here to our define values method and go under shared preferences. It doesn't really matter the order of this, I guess, but try to follow along as best you can. So after shared preferences, we're going to do editor. And we're going to make editor equal to shared preferences. That's lowercase shared, capital P on preferences, dot edit. Bam, done. Next we're going to do builder equals new alert dialog, both capital A. We're going to do this. If this does not work for you, you can do the name of your class, like counter dot this, and see if that'll work for you. Sometimes it doesn't work. One more thing, input new value equals new edit text this, and then another colon. And now we have our first method done, and we have all our things laid out at the top. Define values is going to be the first method to run when we have our app completely done, because we need to have the values defined before we can use them. Inside our onCreate method, under the setContent view, we're going to make a little method, or we're going to, can't think of the word for it, but say that we're going to use define values. So define values, just like that. Now when we run the app, it'll define our values, but of course, just defining it won't do anything. We need to give them purpose and meaning. So next, we are going to make a load values method. We're going to put that right below define values, just to keep it in a logical order. Public void load values. And just so I don't forget, we're going to go load values right here. All we're going to do in this method is make shared preferences equal to get shared preferences. And we're going to give it a little thing here. First we're going to do count, then we're going to comma, after the quotations, context, dot mode private. And I did just realize that I did not go through our previous method and what all that was doing. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I think I went through the text view and button. Shared preferences. We're just defining our shared preferences. Later we're going to build a alert like we see here. So we need that, and that just starts it. And then we also have our edit text field here. So there we go. We have define values and load values done. We're halfway there. Now we need to set the count. I think we're going to go private on this method. We probably should do private on all the methods, but I'm too lazy to go change it. Let's do set count, bam and bam. We need to go here and do set count under load values. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to set the count. Where's our count variable? I don't see a count variable. Uh-oh, did I not set that? Okay, well, up here when we first talk about our text view, let's add a little thing about int count. So for some reason, I neglected to add that. Hoping I got everything else. I've already made this app before, and I'm just reading off another screen about everything I need, so that's why it's getting a little confusing. Anyway, let's go back here and go to SetCount, and we're going to set that count variable we just made equal to the shared preferences dot getInt and count. We'll go with 0. 0 just meaning nothing, not like the actual number 0. So what this is doing is after we've defined our values and loaded values, if we have them, we might not actually have them. So if we don't, it'll just load 0. But if we do, we're going to set the count to whatever the count is in our shared preferences. Shared preferences is basically just a little memory location in your app to save data. So in this line right here, all it is setting the int, the count, equal to shared preferences, and then we're getting the count from that. Pretty easy method. Next, we're going to do a little bit bigger one, but not too big, the button handler method. So we're going to go public, again I mean private, whatever, public void button handler. And we also need to add the button handler below the set count. We're going to do increment button dot set on click listener. Basically, we're finding our increment button that we already defined, so it's this one right here, and we're setting a listener on that. So basically the button will be looking, or listening rather, for a click, and when that happens, now we need to override the method, just like that, and then do public. This might actually need to be public. Let's do onClick view, and view, and then do this. So basically what we're doing in this method is we're checking the value of count. If the count is equal to a number, well, okay, let me go back a step. In our setCount method, we set the value of count to either what the value is already stored as, like what it's been used before, or just it's going to 0. So in this method, we have to first check to see if it's 0, meaning we've never used it, or if it's an actual number that has been used before, if that made any sense. So once we determine which value we have, then we can continue. So first we're going to do if. I feel like I'm not making sense at all, but hopefully you'll understand. If not, please ask me in the comments below, email me at my new email, or check out my website. So we have view does not equal 0. So if that's true, this will happen. Well, if it's true that it's not true, because it means count not equal 0. Anyway, we're going to set count equal to shared preferences dot get int. While the camera was off, I went ahead and finished off this if statement. Here we have count, our little integer variable, equals whatever we have the number stored as in the shared preferences. So let's say we've used the app before, and the value is 550 like it says here. That'll set count equal to 550, and then it'll display that after we add an additional one, so it'd be 551. After we get the value that we had before, we just add one to it, effectively doing the count, and then we set the text. That's all good and all if we already have a value, but if we don't have a value, if it's the first time somebody's clicking the button, the first time they're using the app, whatever, we need to program for that. So after the bracket here, we have two brackets, one starts and one ends. After, not before, very important to do after. You're going to type else, and then do another bracket, bam. We're going to do count plus equals 1, meaning count plus 1 plus equals shorter way to do it. So that will set the value that is 0 currently, if it's the first time you're in the app, to that plus 1. So like if this is 0, say it's the first time we're running the app, it's going to just add 1, and then we're going to display the 1. So to do that, let's go to count value display dot set text integer, still can't type, dot toString count. So this count value display, that is our text view. I don't know if I explained that or not yet. And we're just setting the text of that to basically count. Count being the number that we've counted to. So after the bracket of our else, but before the final bracket, we need to do one last thing. That's commit to shared preferences. And something's wrong here. Well, I don't know what I typed wrong, but we'll find out pretty soon. Basically, that's going to take our new value of count and commit it to shared preferences so it saves. Now, we're going to go past this bracket, past the bracket, parenthesis, and colon, and then past that bracket. So we'll get out of this method, go down a little bit more, and we're going to make the commit to shared preferences. So that's where this red part was coming from that I was so confused about. Again, let's do public. I'm just afraid that it won't work properly if I do anything else. Public void commit to shared preferences, bam, 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 and bam. Write the method for this commit to shared preferences. Basically, we're just going to add count into it. So go editor dot put int, just placing the count variable into our count shared data, and then we're going to commit that. There, now we can get out of that one. Start a new one. And this will be, I don't know, our second or third to last. But this is going to be a really big method, so hang on tight. A lot of data coming at you pretty quickly. Public void create alert dialog. Just like that. Okay. So when you click change count here in the app, this dialog box that we make, that's what we're making right now. So let's start off with builder dot, or I'm sorry, not dot, equals new alert dialog. And again, if this, not this, but the variable this does not work for you, do counter.this or whatever your class name is. And then go down a line, maybe down 2 to make it more clear. Type out alert dialog layout, all one word but all capitals, equals new linear layout. And next time we're going to do layout parameters equals new. Here's a pretty big line coming up. New linear linear layout. We're going to do linear layout dot layout params dot match parent, and then comma linear layout dot layout params dot wrap content. So the first right here, the first layout params is match parent, and that is meaning the width of the box here, the alert dialog. It's just going to match to the parent, and then it's going to wrap to the size of it. It's not going to be too big, it'll just be the right size. Let's make another line here and do alert dialog set orientation. Okay, I did something wrong again. Alert dialog layout dot set or orientation linear layout dot vertical. And then another one, alert dialog layout dot set layout parameters layout parameters. So basically, we're setting the orientation of the layout. It's going to be vertical, not horizontal. And then we're going to assign to our alert dialog that we're going to be using these parameters, which is the match parent and the wrap content. Okay, let's continue. Now we're going to do the gravity of the dialog box. And we're going to set the gravity to gravity.center. We want the box on the center of the screen. I mean, I guess it depends on what you want, but I'm just going to leave it in the center today. You can change it to whatever makes you feel better about yourself. And then we're going to do padding. Padding just being the white space around here. If we had no padding, it'd be like touching it, and that just doesn't look. So we always add padding. Alert, dialog layout again, set padding. And we have 4 values, top, bottom, left, right. I think that's the order it goes, so let's do, what do we want to do? 2. Okay, I did continue a little bit extra. Let's just go over it again. We set the gravity, we set the padding. Now we need to work with our edit text box, which is this right here. First we need to define that we're using a text box, or we're going to create one. Because we don't actually have one created, this is just telling us we're making one, basically. Next we need to set the hint. So the example would be, or the example that the user sees is 232 or 200. Basically this gives them an idea of what you're supposed to enter in that box. Oops, that's a little bit too big of a number. Let's go with 2. And then lastly, we're going to input the input type. You know, is it going to be numbers? Is it going to be text? Is it going to be a password? That type of thing. And then lastly, we're going to add the edit text to our dialog, our alert dialog. And we're going to make it wrap. Gotta have it wrap. Wrap content, that is. And then we need to set the view of the builder to our alert dialog. And then we also need to make it cancelable. So if somebody clicks outside the box, it'll just go back to where it was. There, I continued a little bit more. And let's see what we got here. We have builder.setNegativeButton. So there's 2 different buttons on our alert dialog. One is cancel, one's okay. The cancel button would be the negative one. And so we're making a little on-click listener for that, and then if somebody does click cancel, it will cancel the dialog and make it go away. However, if they click the OK button, it's going to take the text from the text box, or the edit text box, and assign that to count. And it will also commit that to shared preferences also. And then it'll display our new value in the background. I did copy and paste this in, so I didn't have to type it. So basically there's no import for dialog interface yet. I haven't added it up here. But when you see a blue bar like that, that is good. You want to see that because that's easy. You just click Alt, hold Alt, and click Enter, and it'll automatically import that, and now we have no errors. So that's pretty fancy. Then after the 2 buttons, we're going to set the icon of the alert dialog box. The icon right now is set to this little black circle with an eye in it. I just kind of found that online. You don't have to do that part, but you can if you want. If you don't want to do it, just comment that out with 2 slashes. I'm going to show you how to do it if you do. So I guess you'll have to find an icon that you like, it will be in the GitHub file that I'll post in the description of the video. Once you find that, it'll be in folders like this. These represent all the different screen sizes. So basically you're just gonna wanna copy and paste that into your directory, or to your file directory. So here in our Android Studio, right click on Drawable and go to show and Explore or Find in Finder, depending on if you have Mac or Windows. And then just in here, not in Drawable, but just in the folders, generals, just paste it in like that. So now you should see all our icons, and now the icon is recognized. Next, we're going to set the title, input correct value, incorrect value. That's what that is. Then we're going to try to create it, and then we'll try to show it. However, we have a try-catch method. Basically, we're going to try to show the dialog, but if it does not work, we can catch it. If we don't catch it, the app will just crash and say, sorry, it's not working. But we can catch it, and it'll print a little stack trace, so we can find in our debugging what the error was, and it won't crash, so that's pretty helpful. You could set like a little toast message in here just to be like, whatever happened. I'm not going to do that. We don't really need that. It's not too important. It should work fine. It's working fine for me. Okay, here we go. We have our last two methods for our class. This will be the rest of the coding mostly. So let's override the methods, or the first method at least. So we're going to do add override. Bam. That's done. Public Boolean. These methods I'm pretty sure do need to be public. Even though I'm not sure, but I would just guess that they do. So we're going to do onCreate options menu. Basically, that little change count thing we see here, we're just making that right now. Or we're telling the program what to do if somebody clicks that. And I guess in this method we're creating that. I don't know, too confusing. Let's do menu, and then little menu. Bam. We're going to need to import it by doing Alt-Enter. There we go. Now let's inflate the menu. So we'll do get menu inflator dot inflate, lower inflate, r dot menu space counter input. Then we'll return that as true. And then we'll do one last I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but one last method, that's it. So do it again, at override, public boolean, on, options, item, selected, menu, item, again import that, very important. Otherwise, your program's going to be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Let's do a little switch case here. So we're going to do item dot get ID and another bracket case r dot ID dot change value colon bam. And we're going to create our alert dialog. So basically, what we're doing in these methods, if somebody clicks on change count, it'll pop up with our alert dialog box. So then we're going to need to add one more thing to that method. Return super dot on options item selected item. Bam. Now I would say that's pretty much done. I think I've explained everything thoroughly. Although you probably are having an error here. It's not sure what menu you're talking about. What we're going to need to do is create a new something. A new Android resource directory. And we're going to call that directory menu. Click OK. Bam. Right click on directory or on menu. do menu resource file, just like that. We're going to type a little bit in here. We're going to call this menu, let's see, what should we call it? Menu counter input. Okay. This is just because I've uploaded this project to GitHub. You won't see that, hopefully. So in here, we got our first little thingamabob. Then we're going to need X, M, L, N, S, HTTP : schemas. I'm assuming that's schematics. It's fun to guess what all this means. .android.com/apk/res-auto. And let's do item Android ID equals at plus ID / change value. And then Android title equals change count. That's the change count that we see right there. And then finally, app show as action equals iframe. Do that action there. Oh, auto imported for us. It's pretty fancy. Then finally, before we get done with this, we better add tools. Nope, not that kind of tools. Tools context equals main menu or dot main menu. And then bam, just like that. Okay, if room is not working properly, what's wrong? I did capital if. We want lowercase f. Not if room, just if room. Awesome. Okay, so now that's done. We can probably close that. We won't need that again. So now we're back at counter. I think counter is done. Looks pretty done to me. So now is pretty much the easy parts. Let's go to our activity counter. And we're going to need to play around a little bit in here. First of all, I don't like relative layouts. Relative, you get to throw it out wherever you want. You can put your text view where you want, all that. I'm not really into that. I'm more into the exact precise nature. So we change it to linear, got that. Second, we're going to need to add a scroll view. We could type it out and be all boring like, but we're going to go here to the design tab, and we're going to click, I'm sorry, I don't think I told you where to get this activity counter from. Under res, under Java, under layout, you go to activity counter. Sorry. Anyway, after you switched it to linear layout by typing, go back to design, and you're going to want to grab a scroll view. Let's find scroll view real quick. There's scroll view. Throw it out on there. Since it's all linear, it doesn't really matter where you throw it. However, we will want to change, actually, never mind. We don't want to change the orientation, but we're probably going to change the weight of it. So let's change the weight. What's wrong here? Layout weight. I'm sorry. Excuse me for living. Layout weight. I don't know why I'm still getting an error here. I'm doing something wrong. Okay, we're not going to change the weight for a second. In here, we're going to make a text view, which is the 555 you're seeing right now. So go back up here, let's do plain text view. Make sure you throw it inside the scroll view, not outside. Very important. Change a few options on the text view. First of all, the ID should not be text view. That's kind of boring, not very descriptive. So we're going to change that to count. value display. There we go. We're going to change the text to, what do we have on my other screen? To 0. Okay, that's pretty fancy. We'll make the text size a little bit different. Text size equals 150 SP. That's probably a little bit too big, but I like it bigger. SP over DP. SP is for text size. So in the settings of an Android phone, you can find font sizes and you can change it. Well, if you use SP, that'll automatically scale your app to the user preference. But if you use DP, it'll scale it to just however it feels like it. So always with text we use SP, but you don't use that with buttons or anything else like that. So I think that's all we need. Well, we also need to add gravity. We don't want the 0 just on the side. I mean, I guess you could if you want, but I like it in the middle. So let's center that a little bit. I don't know why it didn't center. But let's center it again. Let's try to lay out gravity. Center. Bam. Now it's in the center. That's what we want. Now I'm going to go back up here to the scroll view. Try one last time. See if it'll let me change the layout gravity. Okay, now it works. To 75. When I do 75, I'm meaning like 75% of the screen. Still don't know what the problem is here. I don't know. That's not important, hopefully. I think it should just work just fine. Okay, so after scroll view, we're going to add another linear layout. We're not going to type it because that's lame. Just going to copy it, do it like this. There. Make sure the linear layout is not in the scroll view. Very, very important. Between here, we're going to do a button. And I probably should just go grab a button instead of typing out a button. Button, button, bam. There, now we got a button. We're going to make the button match content, or match parent, I mean. Because why not? And because we want the button to be big, like it is here, not tiny. So let's set the text of the button to count. So we want to count up. Notice I didn't do capital letters. Buttons automatically go to capital letters. It can get annoying, but whatever. We're going to set the ID here to increment button. And I don't know how to spell that very well. Increment button. Size equals 75 SP. Or wait. No. Yes. We want SP because we're setting the text, not the button. Okay, wow, I just found out I wasn't recording. I'm not really sure how long I wasn't recording, but let's go back through what I might have missed. Basically, we did the activity counter, and we got that all set up real nice. That's what it looks like. Again, the code will be in GitHub in the description. And then we also have our menu, or our edit text. So we got it like that. Then we have menu. Okay, so I'm assuming everybody has that. I tried to show you guys how to, or what was wrong with the app when I ran it, but it wasn't working, of course, which is interesting. And then I found out I wasn't recording. So let's see, what do we do about that? Let's try to rerun it. Maybe it's broken temporarily. Okay, that was not the issue apparently. Let's go back to counter and debug. Something here is not working right. When do we want change count to come up? We want it to come up when we click change count. Okay, so I got all that figured out. Basically, problem was in our switch statement, we said get group ID. I meant get item ID. So now it should work just fine. So we're going to go ahead and launch it up here on our little emulator called Speedy. And we're going to hope for the best. So everything seems to be fine. Click change count, and it works. Change it to 555. There we go. Keep counting. Let's change it to, I don't know, 3. Awesome. Let's close it out if we can. It's kind of hard to close on an emulator. Let's go down here. And oops, not that. Click on it. 0. Interesting. But it still saves. My last little change would be this. Basically, when the app gets loaded, if the count is 0, it's just going to display the word count. But if we already have a value, then it'll display that value. That way, before the button is pressed, it already has something to say except for 0, which is handy. Yeah, that's pretty neat. Hopefully this helped you guys learn a few things, or maybe use some of this app in an app you're creating. I don't know what you did with it, but hopefully you got something out of it. And if you need any help figuring something out, please contact me in the description, through my email, through my website, whatever you want to do. I'm glad to help. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.